Welcome to the GP Preview Show. Round 7, Canada, Montreal. Float like a butterfly, sting like a bee. They were Lewis Hamilton's radio messages to Mercedes, tributing Muhammad Ali, who passed away around the Canadian Grand Prix last year. The amazing words have stuck around, probably one of the best radio messages that he said in his whole career. After he took the victory of the Canadian Grand Prix last year, he loves that circuit so much. He took his first win in 2007 there, and he's one of the most successful winners around the circuit. As we head into that, it's round 7, and before I get into anything, we are at 1/3 through the season. I'm sorry to let you know, but we are 1/3 through the Formula One season at the Canadian Grand Prix, and we look back, and it's kind of like a reflection to say we've had some good 6 rounds, of this Formula One season. But obviously, roll into Canada, an amazing race, first race we go to in the West, an evening race for us over in the UK. It's really nice to watch as well. It means like summer's coming and everything. It's a great race to watch. I really enjoyed. It has some great figures. It has some great attendance as well. It's a good circuit. It had some unbelievable races in the past. We're looking at the old school circuits when homegrown hero Jack Villeneuve was battling people like Michael Schumacher and Mika Hakkinen. Towards the newer races, Lewis Hamilton's first victory in 2007, as I mentioned, his victory in 2012, that made the 7 different winners in 7 different races, and obviously the one we all cannot forget, which is the 2011 one, which went on for something around 4.5 hours. Very, very special for that. Anyway, we go into this race on Sunday, and as always, we're going to open the GP Preview Show with our predictions for the race. Now, Canada. It's a good circuit to a lot of drivers. I don't think there's a driver who will look at this circuit and think, this track has been unfair for me. As I say, Lewis Hamilton is a very successful driver. We've had wins from Daniel Ricciardo here. Valtteri Bottas has done well here. Verstappen's done well here. It is good for all the drivers. Anyway, so I'm going to jump in with my first prediction. And my first prediction is going to be, in 3rd place, it's going to be Daniel Ricciardo. Okay, so basically, he won in 2014. He's had an alright start to the season. 2 podiums. He had one in Spain and in Monaco as well. His home race, like it is for many, many drivers. So it is good for him. Definitely needs a good result. Definitely needs Red Bull to basically step up their game. And what better place to do it than his very first win in Canada. Really, really great. I remember that race in 2014. Beating adversary, beating Vettel, and Red Bull was looking like they were coming back. So it's great for him. And obviously, the number 3 car, Daniel Ricciardo, in 3rd place. Now, the 2nd position driver I'm going to say is Valtteri Bottas. Again, very good driver around here. He won Driver of the Day last year for the Formula One, FIA Driver of the Day, whatever that is. But more importantly, the F1 Debate Show Driver of the Day, which obviously is more important, isn't it, John? Yeah, so, I mean, oh yeah, of course. So obviously he put his name to that from his amazing drive in Canada. And now he's in the car to do it. He is a race winner, which you remember. So I was going to say, which you don't forget. No one's forgot that. Everyone loves to see Bottas. He is our race winner, our first race winner, adding his name to Kimi Raikkonen's win, obviously, since Australia 2013, which makes, the Finnish driver record since 2013 Australia. Great to see him, new driver winner, and obviously only one of 3 drivers to win in the 2017 season. Great from him. Does really well in Canada. He did really well on the Williams, but now he's in the Mercedes, the Silver Arrow, the team that's been dominant since 2014, and basically he can't do any worse, can't do any better than win the race. Well, he can't even get to 2nd position, because I think the man in 1st place is going to beat him to it, and that is Pascal Wehrlein. No, it's not. It is Lewis Hamilton. Yeah, so obviously, you're probably thinking, where is Sebastian Vettel? Now, it was very tight in the podium positions. It was very tight on where I wanted to put Sebastian Vettel. Now, you might be thinking to yourself, there's a lot of thinking in mind, by the way. You might be thinking to yourself again, you might be thinking, right, he won the last race. He's leading the World Championship. Where is he? You kind of just not put him on the podium. That's right, but I just think Ricciardo is going to be lightning fast around here. I think Bottas is going to be lightning fast around here. And then I think, oh, sorry, I didn't say he was first. It's Lewis Hamilton. Please don't keep thinking it's Pascal Wehrlein. Please don't keep thinking that. So it's, Lewis Hamilton. Very strong round here, very strong. One of the most successful drivers around here, along with Michael Schumacher. Very strong from him. As I say, he won his first race in 2007. Probably one of the best races was 2012 for him. We had 6 different winners in 6 different races, including past Maldonado, very controversial, in 2012. But then Lewis Hamilton had to help that kind of, basically that kind of monopoly in Formula One keep going, to win in Canada, the 7th race, and become the 7th different winner. Obviously, Fernando Alonso then won in Valencia to break that chain, but it was really great from him. Really strong round here. The only little blip I'd say is obviously when he crashed with Jenson Button in 2011 during that rainy race. But very strong by him. Obviously, yeah, so they are my top 3. We've got number 3 driver from Red Bull in 3rd place, number 77 in the Silver Arrow in 2nd place, and number 44 in the Silver Arrow in 1st place. The number 5 in the red, I don't know where he's going to come, but anyway, but he's not in my podium predictions, that's for sure. So John, who is going to win the Canadian Grand? Who's going to be standing on the podium for the Canadian Grand Prix, round 7 of the World Championship?
Some very good predictions there, I must say, Lyle. Obviously, very realistic. I would say Red Bull I'll probably do have a good shot of the podium. However, I haven't got them on my podium predictions. Now, I've gone with third place. There's German driver of Sebastian Vettel, leading the World Championship by 25 points. Terrific start. In 2nd place, I've gone with Valtteri Bottas, same with Lyle. And in 1st place, I've obviously gone with Lewis Hamilton. So obviously the same predictions as Lyle. However, I haven't got Dan Ricciardo in the 3rd place. I've gone with Sebastian Vettel. Now, I'm going to explain, obviously, why I've got them in them positions. So, let's start with the race winner, Lewis Hamilton. Now, Lewis Hamilton has won 5 Grand Prix here, obviously. He's won 4 of the last 7 Canadian Grand Prix here. So, obviously, that's very good form. Only 3 of them he hasn't won. And this is since the race was introduced back in 2010, I think it was. Obviously, had a year out in 2009. Obviously, like I said, 5 wins here. The only driver to be ahead of him in the winnings all time is Michael Schumacher with 7 wins. So I think he can go one better. Obviously, having been absolutely poor in the last Grand Prix, I think he's very determined to get a good result at Canada to shut the critics and go, okay, I am Lewis Hamilton, I am back, I am going to fight with this championship, and I'm not going to lose it, just like I did last season to a certain Nico Rosberg, who obviously made a very good appearance at the Monaco Grand Prix. In 2nd place, I've obviously gone with, as I just said, Valtteri Bottas. Now, Valtteri Bottas qualified 3rd here on his debut, if you remember, back in 2013 in a very uncompetitive Williams. Since then, I was like, okay, he's going to have a very good record here. And obviously, in the past 2 Grand Prix for Valtteri Bottas, he's finished in P3. Now, I've gone with P2 because he's in a quicker car, and just I think he's got obviously the quickest car of his career so far. And I think now with that speed advantage, he can go one better, because Mercedes need a good response to what Ferrari had a 1-2 last race. Mercedes need a good response, and what a better track to come across than a strong track for both Valtteri Bottas and Lewis Hamilton. 3rd place, Sebastian Vettel. Now, the form Sebastian Vettel is on right now is unbelievable, guys. Honestly, the best start since 2011, as everyone keeps reminding us. Obviously, he's either finished 1st or 2nd. He's won half of the Grand Prix so far this season, obviously with 3, most of them so far. Obviously, yes, won 3 Grand Prix. Hamilton's won 2. Bottas has won 1. So obviously, leading the World Championship by 20. But obviously, leading the World Championship by 25 points. He's won 4 out of the 6 Grand Prix at Canada. Brilliant form. However, I don't think he's going to have. He's going to have quite the advantage as he has been so far, and it is going to. And I think that pace advantage is going to hit Sebastian Vettel and Ferrari hard in the next coming races, because Mercedes need a response. And as like I said before, this is the perfect Grand Prix for Mercedes to actually get Ferrari where they want them, really. Ferrari might finish lower in the standings because they're due a bad Grand Prix, or Sebastian Vettel is anyways, because Kimi Räikkönen's had a fair few hiccups here and there. Obviously, let's say nothing about the Monaco Grand Prix, but I think for me that is probably the best I can come up with. I think Mercedes are going to get the 1-2. Ferrari, the pace is good. I think it is going to be a close Grand Prix, but I think, as like I said before, I think Mercedes are just going to edge it. So that is my predictions, my top 3 predictions for Canada.
Yeah, well, they are very good at all. Obviously, the same as my 2nd and 1st, different 3rd place, but who is going to get it? I mean, it's very tight, but the thing is, there's a lot of drivers who do well in Canada, like how I opened the episode and said. Anyway, now it is time for what we do in every episode, which is Fry the Grid. Round 7. It's now round 7 for Fry the Grid. It's now my turn to answer some questions on Canada. The great race, as I just said, it's very enjoyable. So how will I do? I'm leading Jordan. I'm leading at the World Championship. He is trailing. I'm like Rosberg from last season. He is like Hamilton. But can he catch me up? Can he close that gap? It's very tight to see. Anyway, so here is round 7 for Fry the Grid. Yeah, right guys, this is Lyle, and let's get ready to fry the grid for the Canadian Grand Prix.
Question 1. Which former F1 driver is the Canadian Grand Prix circuit named after?
Gilles Villeneuve.
Oh yes, correct. Well done. Okay. Question 2. How many Canada Grand Prix wins does Lewis Hamilton and Michael Schumacher have between them?
5.
12. Michael Schumacher has 7. Lewis Hamilton has 5.
Oh, all together. All right. Okay, I got you.
Question 3. Who won the first Canadian Grand Prix when it was added to the F1 calendar back in 1967?
67.
Yes.
Gilles Villeneuve.
Nope. Do you have another guess? Just think of 60s F1 drivers. Stewart? Nope. It was Jack Brabham, the Australian. 1967. Right. Question 4. How many wins does Red Bull have at the Canadian Grand Prix?
4.
2.
2.
2013 with Sebastian Vettel and 2014 with a certain Daniel Ricciardo.
Certainly.
5. How many corners does the circuit Gilles Villeneuve have?
Not many. 12.
14. Question 6. 2011 saw the longest Grand Prix ever. How long was the race? So I'll need the hour and the minute.
Okay. 4 hours 40.
You got the hours right, but the minutes wrong. It was actually 4 hours, 4 minutes and 39 seconds.
Oh.
Question 7. In what year was the Canadian Grand Prix the third most watched event in the world, just behind the Super Bowl and the UEFA Champions League final?
2012.
2005. Third most watched event in the world. That's pretty impressive. Question 8. Who won in 2016? The Canadian Grand Prix.
Yeah, Lewis Hamilton.
Lewis Hamilton, correct. Question 9. The Canadian Grand Prix is a street circuit. True or false?
False.
It's actually true. It's on an island.
I knew that.
Question 10. Ferrari has 13 wins at Canada. Which other constructor has the same amount of wins?
Ferrari's the most successful.
Yes, Ferrari's got 13 wins. Another team has the same amount of wins. Who's the other one?
Williams.
Nope. McLaren. So there we go. Right. 2 seconds. So, 2 points. I think the less said about that, the better, don't you think? I mean, yeah. I'm not bothered. I think it's great they got 2 points, but I mean, on your part, I mean, it was a pretty average performance, don't you think?
Yeah, it was terrible. Honestly, that was really bad. I'm not doing very well in Canada, and the FP1 hasn't even started, and already I've lost the weekend. But yeah, just wow, not very good. Oh, obviously, yeah, Jordan likes it because he's now caught up to us, very nearly catching us and very nearly taking the lead. And obviously, he's on.
Will I overtake him in Azerbaijan?
Yeah, will he now on the very tight streets of Azerbaijan? Yes. Anyway, yes. So obviously, the first driver we're going to be talking about is the home favourite of Lance Stroll. Now, Lance, okay, so basically he came into Formula One and we had high hopes for him. We were thinking, right, okay, this is great. He's another Canadian driver. You know, we haven't seen one of those in a very, 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 very long time. Obviously, doing a good run in Formula One. Obviously, been in Formula One before. Obviously, been with Gilles Villeneuve and obviously the world champion of Williams, Jack Villeneuve, in '97. So obviously, very strong from him. But then we thought, yeah, he's good. And obviously, 18-year-old, like Max Verstappen, was obviously very young coming into Formula One. It was going to be great for Lance. He came in with Felipe Massa, obviously returning from his something like 2 months of retirement. We hope he had a good time, Felipe. Yeah, so obviously he hasn't had a very good start. Basically, it's gone probably the wrong way. The wrong way. Everything that he thought would happen hasn't happened for young Lance. He retired in Australia, he retired in China, he retired in Bahrain, he retired in Monaco. He crashed in Bahrain and he crashed in Monaco, coming up to just past the casino. Now, we watched that crash in the race, and it was, I don't know, I mean, obviously it was a rookie mistake, and it was a bit like Max in 2015 and 2016, so we can't really, you know, call him too much about it, but obviously I think it's just a bit like sick for Lance now. It's like, what is happening to him? What is going on? Anyway, yeah, so he's been, there's there's just not a very good vibe around Lance at the moment. Obviously, he's paid a lot for his seat. His dad's paid a lot for that seat, you know, millions and millions and millions of pounds. So it's not great for that, obviously, getting into Formula One. But once you're in Formula One, he's just not great at making a good impression. And it opens the doors to basically one speculation that could happen. And that's the train places, a bit like Max and Daniel. It might even be someone from Formula One, but obviously that's saved for later on. But he heads into this race so far, and basically, I mean, what can we expect from him? He pulled out a good result in Russia. He got into 11th position, which is kind of a nearly position, really. I mean, we've discussed that in a lot of times. Obviously, it's just outside of, obviously, the points positions, 10th down to first, the points positions in Formula One, obviously just outside that. It was good from him in Russia. Obviously, he kept on the track as well, but obviously no positions, no points for Lance is not very good. Williams not having a good season to start with because of him, really. I mean, is he the anchor that's not letting Williams, you know, achieve their full potential? And as we said in the first part, you know, Williams have done quite well around this track. I mean, they've done well in 2013, they've done well in 2014, they've done well in 2015, they did well last year, obviously with Valtteri Bottas as well at the helm, you know, great driver. Obviously we had him, both of us have him in second place for the podium. So that good team that does quite well around Canada, is Lance kind of pulling them down? And obviously for himself, you know, it's his home race, it's his first time in front of his home fans, and he basically isn't giving us like the kind of an indication in the slightest that he is going to perform in his home race, really. 0 points, you know, across the board, all 6 rounds. And for the 7th round, I mean, I don't know, unless Williams help him by getting the strategy right or anything like that, in terms of his pace, in terms of his drive and ability, I don't know, we're just not seeing the Lance that we should be seeing, really. Just on an off topic as well, just talking about Williams, they haven't won DHL Fastest Pit Stop Award, which, by the way, if you remember, they won it almost every single round last year. They even called it around 3/4 of the way through the season to, you know, give it to Williams full stop because they were just obliterating all the other teams. So basically, what is the hope for Lance in this race, John? It's his home race. We all had hopes for him. We all had high hopes for him coming into Formula One. He was 18 years old. Like Lance and like Esteban, he was a young driver that we were excited to see, but nothing's worked for him so far. 0 points across the board. Coming into his home race, I don't know. What can happen? Is there going to be any hope for him in Canada?
Well, obviously, chances of a safety car are quite high at Canada, you know what I mean? It's like Monaco, but not as glamorous. It is quite hard to overtake, and it is quite likely you could crash. Wall of Champions, for example. I doubt Lance will probably crash there, but then again, he'll probably crash anywhere the way he's going on at the moment. But no, I think, well, to answer your question basically about what can Lance do to actually get a good result in front of his home crowd, it's basically a bit of luck. That is pretty much it. Because for me, Lance Stroll should be performing at a good standard. You know, he should be mid-table, competing with Felipe Massa. Massa is obliterating this kid. Now, when he came into Formula One, I was very, very excited because we have seen what Max Verstappen was like when he came in. Esteban Ocon, all these young drivers. Some proved themselves, some didn't. So, but when you are young, you know, especially in this day of Formula One, you know, the cars, okay, maybe they are a bit harder to drive than ever, but not as hard as what they used to be to drive, if you get what I mean. So he should be okay, really. You know, I mean, yes, there is a big jump from, you know, the lower ranks to Formula One. So maybe Lance has jumped at the wrong time. If he had jumped in 2016, maybe he could have had a good performance because the cars were quite similar to what they are in the lower ranks. So that could be that, you know, that could play a part into it. Or he might not be ready because his dad paid, I believe, 80-odd million pounds or dollars. So that just tells you that Williams wanted him just for the money. And now that saying, just paying there for the money, it's kind of taking its toll, or taking its stroll on young Lance himself. So, oh my word. But you know, and also that it's not about Williams having a bad car. The pace is there in the car. I think the car's great. I mean, not where they want it to be, but Williams had a poor 2016. 2017 they haven't really got up to scratch, but Massa's doing the job. You know, why isn't Lance? So that is a question, obviously, we're not really going to judge. We're not going to say Lance is the bad driver because we couldn't drive the Williams. We couldn't drive any Formula.
I don't know. We can have a go. We can have a go. I mean,
I would love to have a go, but you know what I mean. Lance could probably do better than what we could on a serious note. But in Formula One terms, I think Lance, he should be performing better. But you could also say that it is his first season. It is only round 7. Let's see what he's like in the second part of the season. So another driver we're going to briefly talk about, who is under a lot of pressure this week, and that is obviously Jolyon Palmer, the Renault driver. Now, similar to Lance Stroll, he's got no points this season. He's underperforming where he should be. But on a different note to Lance Stroll, there's less. I think there's more pressure on Jolyon Palmer to perform because one, he's British, and obviously we expect good things from British drivers. And two, this is his second season in Formula One, so he's got the experience, to know what it's like in a full season of Formula One. And he hasn't scored a single point this season compared to his teammate Nico Hülkenberg, who's in P11 right now on 14 points. So again, similar to what Lance and Massa's like, compared to Palmer and Hülkenberg, the similarity is that you've got one driver who's putting the car to the potential it can be, and the teammate is kind of dragging the team down. If both of them lived up to the car's potential, they could be going for some serious points, maybe targeting P6 or P5 in the constructors' standings. And we are going to go into a little bit more in depth about Jolyon Palmer and his future, maybe in this week's episode of the F1 Debate Show, so stick around for that as well. But for the time being, he needs a good result this weekend, and I think we are going to be saying that until he gets a good result, or until maybe the inevitable happens and he gets fired, which it might happen. We've seen it before. Obviously, after what happened with Daniel Kiva and Max Verstappen, anything can happen. Or anything can Verstappen. We're cracking these out today, aren't we? Oh, I like that.
No, you're cracking them out and they're bad. Honestly,
these are coming out thick and faster than Mercedes pit stop, Williams pit stop for last season. But no, Jolyon Palmer, massive amount of pressure. Not probably this weekend up until he probably scores some points. So Lyle, Jolyon Palmer, he's British. Okay, he's in a Renault. We're not going to be scoring, podiums and race wins and pole positions and stuff like that. But he should have scored some points by now, surely. And do you think that he is under a lot of pressure this weekend? What do you think?
I'll tell you what probably puts him under a lot of pressure, knowing that his teammate transferred to Renault from Force India for £27 million, thinking that this is going to be the glory days of Renault. But yeah, obviously, Nico Hülkenberg, he's doing a good job. Jolyon Palmer isn't. He had two unlucky 13 position finishes in China and Bahrain, the unlucky 13, and two retirements in Australia and Russia. But yeah, obviously no points like Lance. As John said, it's not great for him. I feel like there's something that Jolyon, he can achieve, and I think he is a really good driver. Obviously, son of Jonathan Palmer, a great driver in his day as well. Jolyon Palmer, one of the best rounds for him, probably the best race so far, was Belgium last year. Really strong from him, and I'm thinking it'll towards the later part of the season, so the later part of this part of the season, and obviously the early part, getting into the later part of next season as well, where he'll perform. Obviously, like as I said, Belgium and Italy, great race, great rounds for him as well. Obviously, the Renault was definitely great last year, battling into Q3 for Italy, which was really good. But he definitely needs to pull something out of the bag. Can he do it in Canada? I mean, it's a fast circuit, and it looks like Renault can achieve more so around in that area really. But obviously for him and for Nico, it definitely needs to be like a team effort to push them forward. And just topping on something that you just said there about the team effort is one driver succeeding and the other driver's letting it go. I mean, in the Williams case, I'd say yes. I'd say unfortunately, nothing against Lance, Lance at all.
We're not trying to put any hit on these drivers. Yeah. I think they're brilliant at what they do, but in Formula One terms, they should be performing better, really.
So Lance, I don't know. Lance looks like he is. I mean, Massa looks like. Massa obviously unbelievably. Hats off to him. He came. Remember, he should be his feet should be up in front of the sun in Dubai somewhere. He should be on He should be on retirement. He should have opened his pension years ago. But, months ago, I meant to say, sorry. But obviously, yes, so in that case, yes. But I think Jolyon Palmer isn't pulling the team down. I think if he carries on with no position, no finishes, it won't be very good from him. But only 2 retirements, other race finishes in the top 10. I mean, we can't all score points, but I think he's definitely pulling the team in the kind of being pushed in the right direction by Jolyon. I think those two drivers, Nico and Jolyon, are a great pairing, very strong from them. And I do like Jolyon. I think he will achieve at least something out of this race. And if he gets some points, if on the off chance as well that he beats Nico Hülkenberg, that would be really fantastic for him. And honestly, it would be so exciting to see that. Okay, now moving on. So the next driver that I want to talk about is Daniel Ricciardo. Now, basically, I had him in 3rd place in part 1 where I gave my prediction. Now the reason I want to talk about this driver is that he got his first win in 2014, but it's more so about the chances that Daniel gets, the lack of chances, and basically Red Bull's form at the moment. Now, as you all know, I'm a Red Bull fan, but I was a fan of Mark Webber, so don't think that I just jumped on the bandwagon of Sebastian Vettel. God, obviously another Australian as well, and it was great when that happened. It was, the timing was fantastic. It really, really was. You know, one Australian left Red Bull, and then another Australian comes into Red Bull. Obviously Daniel Ricciardo, very fresh face and really ready to go. Only 2 retirements this year in Australia, his home race and in Russia. Australia was a massive one for him, massive, and we looked at Red Bull as a whole, not just Ricciardo, but Verstappen as well, and thought, honestly, what are we doing here? That's what they definitely thought. You know, it was Sebastian's ex-team. They definitely thought, honestly, what are we doing here with that kind of result? But obviously a 4th place in China, 5th in Bahrain, and then obviously, as I said in the first part as well, 2 back-to-back podiums in Spain and Monaco. Very, very great from him. And yeah, it's good to see what he can do. But anyway, this track, a Red Bull track, a Red Bull domination track. Sebastian's won here before in the Red Bull. Daniel's won here before in the Red Bull. As I said in the first part, when they did that in 2014, it was obviously they hadn't been winning. They hadn't won since Brazil 2013 with Sebastian. They came through with Ricciardo and they'd won in Canada. And Sebastian had a pretty rubbish season compared to when they won. And Daniel Ricciardo won, and he was like, that face was like, yes, I won, finally. It's another Australian standing on the podium, but I've also beaten the 4-time world champion. Honestly, what's going on here, guys? What is actually going on? Really, I'm in shock. And yeah, so basically, I mean, Daniel Ricciardo, he's on a form. 3 consecutive podiums, 2 in third place, 2 consecutive podiums in 3rd place. Really strong from him. He's won here before. Red Bull definitely have the pace. If they have the straight line pace, this is probably their first time to show that. I really do feel, because obviously, like China, for example, I mean, that's a fast circuit. But I do feel like this one is probably our first indication, because honestly, Canada is so... It's almost like a bit of an oval, really. It's like based on a speedway, if you like. There's a few little chicanes here and there, but it really is fast. It's a fast-paced, very energetic circuit, and basically Daniel Ricciardo, I think he's on for a podium like I predicted. In the first part, I reckon he could shock us all with what he's going to do. But they need a great result, Red Bull as a whole. But Daniel Ricciardo, he's not Mr. Neely Man. Before I pass it on, he's not Mr. Neely Man, but Daniel Ricciardo just feels like a driver who, it's almost like painful when he doesn't win. Yes, he won in Malaysia 2016 because of the Mercedes retirement, but then he hadn't, and there was a good few chances that he had been given. Yes, obviously Monaco was a massive one, Spain was a big one, but obviously I believe that the team just wanted Max to win because obviously, you know, it was the first Dutch driver, the youngest driver, blah blah blah. You know what I mean? Like those kind of things. But obviously Daniel had been given a few chances. It needs to be his time, like he said last year when he got pole position in Monaco. It needs to be his time. And I believe that this race could be his time. And I know I said Hamilton could win because he's so strong. But and obviously I know I said 3rd place, so I can't really go back on what I said. But Daniel, very strong. And a podium is probably the least I would say Daniel should walk away with this race from. So the Australian, the Aussie grit as they call it, John, I believe that is probably, Daniel Ricciardo is probably like momentum in Formula One is very high at the moment, and out of the two Red Bulls, I want him to succeed. Now, honestly, he's probably, in terms of like favourites to win the World Championship, I just like him to win. I'm not saying that he will do, but I just love him to win and succeed. I'd love him to win this race, and I have so much backing for this Australian driver. So how do you think he'll do in this race? And yeah, do you think Red Bull, do you think this is the start of kind of his Red Bull season?
Well, Red Bull definitely do need to kick on, don't they? Because they've had a bit of a quiet start to the season. A bit like what they did in 2016, didn't they? They had a very quiet start and then kind of picked up the pace a little bit towards the end of the season, sort of overtaking Ferrari, basically, which I doubt that's going to happen this season. Might be Mercedes, I really don't know. Obviously, we're not too aware of that. But I was reading something on Twitter that apparently there was some sort of Renault upgrade that was supposed to be coming this race, and it's not. And it's going to be, I don't know when it's going to, it might be the Azerbaijan or Austria. It's coming, this upgrade that everyone seems to be talking about. And I think that's going to hinder Red Bull this weekend. Not obviously Daniel Ricciardo as well on the subject of him. And I think that's what's going to give him the pace disadvantage over the likes of the Mercedes and the Ferraris, because Red Bull, quite frankly, are nowhere near the pace right now. You know, as like I said in the last episode of the F1 Debate Show, you know, seconds off the pace, and it's just not where Red Bull want to be. And for me, Daniel Ricciardo should be winning races, you know, every so often. He should be challenging for that World Championship. And when I seen him won in 2014, I thought, right, this is the beginning of somebody great. Fair enough, by car, there's always next season. We knew Red Bull weren't going to improve massively in 2014 because of the strength of Mercedes, and we're seeing that how weak Ferrari and McLaren and teams like that were in 2014. It was only Mercedes that actually probably had a decent season. Red Bull got lucky on some occasions. Roll on 2015, and the car was just poor altogether. Obviously, they had a massive falling out. Red Bull and Renault, Daniel Ricciardo didn't win any races. Got a podium, I believe, a couple of events. Roll on 2016, the power unit was better, but Mercedes was just as strong in 2016 compared to 2014, so Red Bull missed out again. So it's all about getting, I think for me, Red Bull just need to time it properly to actually go, right, we've got the best power unit, we need to, really, actually, do you know what, they just need a bit of luck from time to time. I think that's pretty much the key to try and beat the Mercedes, because they are still the team to beat, even though Ferrari are beating them, it's still, it's a sprint, not a marathon. Or it's a marathon, not a sprint.
Yeah. Oh my God. How are you?
I don't know.
If you're gonna quote something, get it right. Get it right. Honestly, man. Honestly, it's been said a lot in this episode. Why are we quoting
stuff? We don't know what we're doing here.
Honestly, it's been said a lot in this episode. And honestly, it's towards him. Honestly, you're gonna say jokes but just quickly on Daniel Ricciardo though. Yeah. The smile is always there. And that is always going to be there. The smile.
We want to see the smile back.
But quickly though, if he doesn't win, if no results come his way, I'd say by the summer break, that smile's going to turn into a flat mouth.
It would.
Then a frown.
I think it would if Max Verstappen wins a race from now till. Do you know what? If Max Verstappen wins a race before Ricciardo, Ricciardo's going to be like, hang on, guys. Honestly, are you kidding me?
A bit like what happened in 2016, John. Don't you agree? Because obviously Max, when he came in, that's what I said about 2016 Spain. It was like I think the team wanted Max to win because they were like, right, okay, we've got two Red Bulls two Red Bulls in the space to win. Yes, Ricciardo got a puncher in Spain, but they could have made it differently. But I think Red Bull wanted to win because Christian could have added that more. Red Bull could have added that to the history books and said, "Oh my God, we've Max, youngest driver, Dutch driver, first race in the new team." All those stats work up to an amazing finish. Or we could have had the Australian win, which would have been great for him, obviously, but it would have been better if Max had won. But yeah, I think that annoyed him. As John said, I think that annoyed him. To think that Max won in round 5 and then Malaysia was, I don't know what quickly in my head, round 15, something like that. And that gap of that gap between Spain and Malaysia, that probably got to Ricciardo a bit. And as Jordan's just said there, if Max wins again, say if Max wins today or Austria, for example, because we know he's really strong around there, as both Red Bulls are obviously, but Max is strong around there. Say if he wins that race, or if he wins any race before Daniel does, even if it's one race beforehand, it will get under Daniel Ricciardo's skin and maybe turn that frown. No, turn. When people say turn that frown upside down, it might turn that smile upside down into a frown. But yes, I do agree on that sense.
So to round up our topics about the Canadian Grand Prix is going to be talking about a team that has now officially had their worst ever start to a Formula One season.
You know who that is.
You of course know who it is. It's McLaren. Now the reason why I'm saying this is because in Monaco 2015, obviously when Honda first came in, we scored points in Monaco. Scored no points up until the Monaco Grand Prix. 2016, we scored our points at Bahrain, and it was more consistent. This season, it's been past Monaco, and we haven't scored points. And I can't see us scoring points. Honestly, I really can't see us scoring points at all this season. Honestly, that's how dim I am about this team. So, Lyle, quickly, sum up your words on McLaren. Worst ever start. Where do we even go from there? The worst ever start of a season.
I don't know. Honestly, it's painful. It's painful.
Oh,
it's embarrassing. It's a joke. Oh wow. I don't know what they're gonna do. I feel sorry for all their drivers, all 3 of their drivers. Alonso as well. Alonso's probably at the top of the chain. Honestly, we all feel sorry for him. It's really painful for them. Jensen's not going to come back. Honestly, Jensen is not going to come back. Why? He would come back to a team. He would come back to a good team, but honestly, I'm not even joking now. We're not even joking. Until McLaren start pulling out things, and I know you thought that we were going to talk about Jensen come back to Formula One, which, I mean, yes, he is, because we're not going to make up Jensen's mind, but basically, in my mind especially, in our minds, why would Jensen come back to McLaren at this form? Why would he do that?
Let alone...
And also, yeah, why would Fernando re-sign for McLaren? And honestly, Stoffel, I feel sorry for him as well, because he came in, after that amazing result last year. What's he doing this year? What is McLaren doing? But oh wow, honestly, I mean, you thought we were making fun of Lance Lance has got nothing on McLaren. But yeah, honestly, it's just so painful. And that's the thing, I mean, there's nothing else to say, Jordan, really. There's nothing else on McLaren, but I feel sorry for you, and I feel sorry for every McLaren fan out there, because it's just, it's painful, and it's an embarrassing. It's, honestly, it's wild. But the thing is, so in terms of like Ferrari and Mercedes and Red Bull's eyes, they're happy because it's one less competitor. You know what I mean? It's one less person that they can fight with. So obviously they're happy. And yeah, it's just obviously, I don't know, it's a real shame when you think about, I mean, like, even till 2012, McLaren were a team that were at the front. 2013, they were still kind of thought of as to be a front-runner team. Yeah. You know, with Ferrari, with Mercedes, with Red Bull. They were the people. Now McLaren is not there at all. But yeah, that's as much we can see on McLaren. I mean, honestly, it's like they didn't even bother getting a review in this race.
Is as much as I want to say about McLaren.
Yes, that's as much as we want to. Exactly. Alright, so this is where we're going to end the Canadian Grand Prix GP preview show. Thank you very much for watching. If you are new around here, make sure to subscribe to the channel. It's completely free. Just hit that subscription button next to our logo. Please like the video if you've enjoyed it. Comment about all the drivers that we've talked about today, about Lance, about Jolyon. What do you think? What's going to happen in this race? Give us your predictions if you'd like to predict your podium, your top 10, or if you'd like to go for the whole spiel and predict the full race, including the retirees, which, you know, you can have a go. I mean, we used to do that in our episodes, if you remember last year. Anyway, guys, so thank you very much for sticking around. Obviously, again, thank you very much for 200 subscribers. And yeah, we have been the F1 Debate Show, and until next time, see you later.
See you later, guys. Take care of yourselves.